couldn't take the fact that I came out and said I had HIV on social media. They just still mad because they couldn't go tell social media I had it, right?
Hip-hop was never only fame and flashing lights. For black women who had to fight twice as hard to be heard in a male-dominated world, it has also been a graveyard of unfinished verses. These were not just rappers, they were pioneers, queens of bounce and trap and blues, first ladies of legendary crews, voices that forced the culture to make room. Just as their flowers bloomed brightest, fate snatched them in ways that still feel cruel. Overloaded planes exploding on takeoff, hails of bullets meant for someone else, silent overdoses on New Year's mornings, hospital beds after years of dialysis, dark highways with no crosswalk, a pool edge that should never have been fatal. 17 flames extinguished, their legacies still burn. Let's open the files. 17. Aaliyah, the princess of R&B whose flight never landed. Aaliyah Dana Houghton was only 22, but she already moved like a veteran. Brooklyn-born, Detroit-raised, she had the tomboy grace, the whisper to a command voice, and a sound that blurred R&B and hip-hop so completely that Timbaland and Missy Elliott built a new language around her. She rapped when the track needed it, danced like the beat lived in her bones, and carried herself with a quiet authority that made grown men in the booth sit up. After filming the video for Rock the Boat in the Bahamas, she boarded a small Cessna 402B at Marsh Harbor. The plane was overloaded. The pilot was unlicensed for that aircraft. Shortly after takeoff on August 25, 2001, it stalled, crashed, and erupted in fire less than 200 feet from the runway. Aaliyah and 8 others died. The wreckage burned so hot that identification took time. The last images of her are from that video shoot: water, sun, that effortless smile. Then, the screen goes black. More than 2 decades later, rappers still sample her, name drop her, and dress like her. The plane never made it home. Her voice did. 16. Chynna Rogers, the model who rapped about dying first. Chynna Marie Rogers walked runways for Ford models at 14, then decided the camera was not enough. Philadelphia-born, she slid into AAP Mob's orbit after messaging AAP Yams as a teenager. Her flow was conversational, vulnerable, and darkly funny. She titled projects music To Die To and In Case I Die First. She talked openly about opioids, about the weight of being a young black woman trying to stay sober enough to perform. On April 8, 2020, she was found unresponsive in her Philadelphia home. She was 25. The official ruling: accidental drug overdose, the same substances that had already taken so many of her peers. Her last public words circled death the way her music always had. The girl who once said she needed music to die and never got to hear the posthumous tracks her friends finished for her. 15. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, the rebellious flame extinguished in the Honduran jungle. If T-Boz was the raspy soul and Chili the glamour, Lisa was the fire. Petite, condom over the left eye, rap verses that cut through nose scrubs and waterfalls like a switchblade. She was the creative engine of TLC, the one who would rather burn a house down than stay silent. On April 25, 2002, she was in Jutiapa, Honduras. Not for a gig, but for a meditation retreat, trying to breathe after the Hollywood pressure. She was driving a rented Mitsubishi Montero with family and friends. 7 people in the vehicle. Lisa handed a camcorder to the passenger so they could document the healing trip. The footage is still haunting. Laughter, tropical canopy, rolling wheels. Then a slow-moving truck. She swerved left to avoid it, met an oncoming car, swerved again. The SUV flipped, slammed into trees. Lisa was thrown from the vehicle. Fatal head injuries. She was 30. The other passengers survived. The camcorder kept rolling until it didn't. TLC continued as a duo, but everyone who loved them knew half the soul was gone. Fans still remember the condom, the energy, the bars that were ahead of their time. 14. Lola Gangsta Boo Mitchell, the Queen of Memphis and the New Year's Day silence. 3-6 Mafia's only woman, the one who growled over those dark Memphis beats and made even the hardest rappers take a step back. Queen of Memphis. She laid bricks for every Southern female rapper who came after. On New Year's Eve 2022, she was still laughing at a concert with her brother. The next afternoon, January 1st, 2023, paramedics found her unresponsive at her mother's house. She was 43. Autopsy: accidental overdose, fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol. No shooting, no crash, just a heart that stopped while she slept. Drake, Missy, the new generation all posted tributes. The first day of the year became the last day of the Queen. Whenever a woman raps with that Memphis pride now, you can still hear her in the cadence. 13. Magnolia Shorty, the bounce queen and the hail of bullets. Renetta Lowe was signed to Cash Money before she was 15, the second woman the label ever took. She turned New Orleans bounce into a party that the whole city could claim. December 20th, 2010, Edge Lake neighborhood, Christmas lights already up. She was driving with a male friend. A car blocked them. Men with guns stepped out. It was not a few shots. It was a barrage. She tried to reverse. The car slammed into a wooden fence. Magnolia Shorty was hit more than 24 times. She died at the scene, 28 years old. Police later said she was not the target. She was simply in the wrong car with the wrong person. New Orleans answered with one of the largest second-line funerals the city had seen. Brass bands, thousands walking, mourning and celebrating in the same breath. The bounce still plays. Her silhouette is still in it. 12. Lexi Alichai, high-flying wings clipped at 21. The calendar had just flipped. New Year's Day 2020, downtown Minneapolis, the Lowe's Hotel across from Target Center. 7th floor. The night before had been a family celebration. Lexi Alichai, Alexis Alichai Lynch, 21, granddaughter of Zapp's Roger Troutman, the girl whose mixtapes already sounded like they belonged to someone twice her age, was supposed to catch an Uber to the studio later. The Kalani Jealous remix had already put her name in rooms she was only beginning to enter. Growing Pains was out. The next chapter was supposed to start with the new year. Instead, people in the room woke up and she would not. She was on the floor, cold to the touch. Someone was already trying CPR when firefighters arrived late that morning. Dispatch audio captured the first ugly detail. They had been told she might have overdosed the night before on Percocet. The official ruling came weeks later and was colder still. Mixed fentanyl and ethanol toxicity, accidental, no gun, no crash, no enemy at the door. Just a young woman's breathing slowing in a hotel room after the fireworks, then stopping. That is what made it land so hard. She was not in a trap house or a dark alley. She was in a mid-tier luxury hotel with family nearby on the first morning of a year that was supposed to belong to her. Kalani's posts were raw because they were not performative. They were the sound of someone who had watched a peer, a collaborator, a little sister in the game, vanish between midnight and noon. The same silent chemistry that had already taken so many 21-year-olds took one more. The second album never arrived. The Uber to the studio never came. 11. Enchanting, Trap and Blues Muse and the Eternal Sleep at 26. This one did not happen in one night. It happened in the days she was trying to stop. Channing Nicole Larry, Enchanting, had spent the last 4 days at a management associate's house trying to get clean. Withdrawals. She had already lost a friend to a fake pill and had said on record a year earlier that one pill could kill you immediately. On June 5th, she was still posting about shooting videos. On June 10th, she was rushed to the ICU at Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas after what was described as a heart attack, likely from overdose. Her sister publicly told people to ignore the death rumors. "My sister is fine." She was not. Machines kept her body going. Family and friends held her hand in that white room and waited for a girl who whispered more than she shouted, who had carved Trap and Blues into Gucci Mane's 1017 roster to open her eyes. The miracle did not come. At 2:26 a.m. on June 11, 2024, after they removed life support, she was gone. She was 26. 2 months later, the medical examiner made it official. Accidental toxicity from oxycodone and benzodiazepines. A prescription cocktail, not a street corner. The shock was not only the age, it was the sequence, the attempt to get clean, the false, "she's okay," the hours of waiting, then the decision no family should have to make. Gucci's tribute felt stunned because it was. A voice that was still climbing, still defining its own lane, was taken off the ventilator. The last thing she had tried to do was stop. The last thing the drugs did was not let her. 10. MC Trouble, Motown's pioneering gem and the sleep she never woke from. This death has no sirens at the beginning. No blocked-off street, no ICU countdown, no hotel hallway. Just a 20-year-old who went to sleep at a friend's house in Los Angeles. Latasha Sharon Rogers was Motown's first female rapper. I Wanna Make You Mine had already proven she could blend hard cadence with melody the way the label understood. She was born with epilepsy and took medication every day to keep the seizures away. Few people outside her circle knew she was also dealing with a brain tumor. She kept recording. She was in the middle of her second album, the one she had already named Trouble in Paradise, when June 4th, 1991 arrived. That night, the seizure came anyway. Complications from the tumor. Her heart stopped. She died in her sleep. Some reports say she was later pronounced at Kaiser in Westlake. The public only found out after the fact. Motown's pioneering FemC, contracts in a sophomore project waiting, gone at 20 because her own body turned on her in the dark. That is why it still feels different from the others. There was no wrong place, wrong person. There was no party that went too far. There was a young woman who had already beaten the odds just to get signed, who hid the illness so she could keep working, and who simply did not wake up. Boys too. Men dedicated the video for It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday to her. Phife Dawg and Nefertiti put her name in records. The flower did not get crushed in public. It just stopped blooming overnight while the second album sat unfinished. 9. Natina Reed, The Highway Mystery and a Cruel Echo. October 26, 2012. A Friday night, Lawrenceville Highway, US 29, just north of Lilburn, Georgia, near Hamilton Road. No streetlights worth the name. No painted crosswalk. A stretch of asphalt that cars treat like a corridor. Not a place a person should ever be standing. Natina Tijuana Reed was 31 2 days from her birthday. Blake's Sharpest Edge, the rapper in the group Lisa Left Eye Lopez had discovered and mentored, her cousin, her protege. She had a 10-year-old son, Tren. She was staying at an extended stay motel in Norcross, getting ready to move into a new place. Sometime after 10:20 p.m., she was on that highway. Police would later say, for some unknown reason. Some accounts say she was on the phone. Whether she was crossing or walking in the lane, the only people who saw the last second were inside a red Honda Accord. The driver was sober. Visibility was almost nothing. A silhouette entered the headlights. There was no time to stop. Impact. Her body left the pavement. The driver stayed. He called 911. The passenger dropped to the asphalt and started CPR under flickering light. Ambulances tore through Gwinnett County. At 10:59 p.m., Gwinnett Medical Center pronounced her dead. That is the shock. Not a hit and run, not a drunk driver, not a beef. A woman who had already survived the industry's grind, who still had a child's birthday parties ahead of her, standing in the dark on a road with no reason the public ever fully received. Her parents later held a press conference because even the basic facts, exact time, the driver's identity, her belongings, felt locked away. 10 years after Left Eye died in a wrecked SUV in Honduras, Natina died on Georgia asphalt. Same family of women. Same kind of night that should have been ordinary. The questions never closed. They just got quiet. 8. Bo, the gangster queen in the 7-year hospital war. This one does not explode. It erodes. Lachelle Marie Laws, Bo, came out of Detroit battles with a voice like gravel and a stare that made Def Jam West sign her as their first woman. Born gangstas. Deeper. No dresses, no soft hooks unless she chose them. Male rappers had to respect the lane because she refused to ask. Then the body started collecting debts. Kidney failure as far back as the late 90s. Years of dialysis while living with her parents. Every complication that comes when the filters fail. In 2011, she needed a kidney again and asked the internet for a donor. None came. In 2017, a major stroke and a seizure dropped her. After that, the world shrank to beeps, tubes, and the hum of a machine that did the work her organs no longer would. A 2021 GoFundMe tried to pay for a procedure that might have made a transplant possible. She still recorded. People who were in the studio said she brought the IV with her. The growl was still there. The body was not. On March 11, 2024, at Ascension Providence Hospital in Southfield, Michigan, kidney failure finally stopped the heart that had already survived the first collapse. She was 54, 7 years after the stroke, after public fundraisers, after watching other people's lives move while hers was measured in dialysis sessions. The shock is the length. Most of the names on this list vanish in a night. Bo had to live inside the dying. The woman who once stood over boom bap and made rooms go silent spent her last chapter counting breaths between treatments. She did not fold. She just ran out of fight the organs would give her. Bun B called her Big Sis. The tribute posts came from people who remembered the 1993 version and could not reconcile it with the hospital bed. 7. Brax, the multi-hyphenate star who vanished in a mysterious fog. November 2nd, 2020. That is the date the family later used. The internet found out 3 days later. Braxton Blue. B. Baker was 21. Richmond born. Dance captain, self-directed videos, fashion, poetry, rap. Versatility in 2017 made people look twice. She had over 100,000 Instagram followers and projects stacked. 2 albums, 3 novels, a brand she was building around Black queer revolutionary women. On social media, she still looked like someone in the middle of becoming. No hospital photos, no decline the public could track. Then her mother, Latricia, posted, "Their angel had ascended. She laid in sacred form. No scratches, no bruises. Internal and external being completely pure. A spiritual release. God retrieved the angel he loaned us." That language froze people because it refused the usual script. No cause, no timeline. No, she had been sick. Medical examiners later listed cardiac arrhythmia, the heart's electrical system simply misfiring, then stopping. A 21-year-old who taught dance, directed her own shoots, and wrote about surviving sexual assault so other women could heal, gone without a visible wound. The family chose silence to protect her. The shock is the absence of a scene. No highway, no hail of bullets, no hotel floor, just a young woman at the peak of her making. And then a mother's post that told the world the work would now be legacy instead of release dates. In June 2021, they put her face on the wall of Das Spot, the Northside studio where she had spent so much of her childhood. The mural is still there. People still comment under old pictures. We will never forget. The fog never fully lifted. That was the point. Some deaths arrive as spectacle. Hers arrived as a door closing so quietly that the only sound left was everyone asking what just happened. 6. Hurricane G, the Brooklyn storm in her final breath. What happens when the instrument itself is the thing that fails? Gloria Rodriguez did not whisper. She rapped like Brooklyn traffic, raspy, bilingual, no apology. First woman in the hit squad, the voice that told Redmond to drop the smooth stuff and get with the rough. El Barrio. Somebody else. Puerto Rican woman who walked into a boys' club in mid-90s New York and did not ask permission to stay. In May 2022, her daughter Lexis put the diagnosis in public. Stage 4 lung cancer. Read that again. For a rapper, the lungs are not just organs, they are the engine. The thing that holds the bar, the breath, the punch. Lexis wrote that she still could not process it, that her mother was the one holding everyone together saying, "Don't worry, everything's going to be all right." 6 months. That is all the storm got after the announcement. Chemotherapy, coughing that would not quit, then hospice. On November 6, 2022, Eric Sermon, the father of her only daughter, posted that his heart was hardened. She was 52. Sources later said she was already in hospice when she went. Can you hear the cruelty in that? The same chest that used to push a whole cipher now fighting for air through machines. The woman who once needed no introduction left the room without a last verse. DJ Premier, Steele, Radiga. The tributes came from people who remembered the hurricane, not the hospital. The question that lingers is the simplest one. How do you say goodbye to a voice when the thing that made the voice is what killed her? 5. Ms. Melody, Boogie Down Productions pioneer, and a quiet departure. Some deaths arrive with a cause you can name. This one arrives with a locked door. Ramona Scott, Ms. Melody, came out of Flatbush and stood next to KRS-One when Boogie Down Productions was still teaching the culture how to talk about itself. She was on Self-Destruction. She had Live on Stage. She was in Queen Latifah's Ladies First video. Diva in 1989. Feminist when the word still made rooms tense. Married to KRS-One from 87 to 92. 2 sons. July 17, 2012. She was 43. The family said she had battled a brief illness. That is the entire public sentence. No hospital name, no diagnosis, no last statement. Russell Simmons tweeted, "A dope MC, D Nice, Jazzy Joyce, Jadakiss posted condolences," and then the story stopped. Why does that silence hit harder than a crash? Because she spent her career refusing to be background. She spit from a woman's perspective when the booth was still treated like a men's locker room. Then the last chapter was written in a single vague line. What was the illness? How brief is brief? Did she know it was the end? We do not get to know. The second act she had already earned, the one after the divorce, after the one album, never happened, and the culture was not even given a reason to sit with. Sometimes the most haunting death is the one that leaves you nothing to picture except a date and a locked door. 4. Nina Ross, the independent boss struck down by gun violence. January 8, 2019, just before 11 p.m., North Tangerine Place, East Tampa, near East Yukon. A 911 call. When police arrived, they found a car that had already left the street and gone into a house. Inside that story, Jimmy Lee Spillman, Nina Ross DeBoss, 31 years old, mother of 6, the oldest 11, the youngest 2 months. Hairstylist, lace front shop, church member at Exciting Faith Alive. Local mixtapes, a Chirac video people actually played. She was in the car with a man. He was shot in the head. She was ejected with gunshot wounds to the upper body. A bullet also hit a house across the street, 2 people dead. A baby at home who would never remember her mother's face except in pictures. Was she the target? Family said wrong place, wrong time. 2 years later, police charged Gary and Antonio Brown and Kelvin Reynoso with murder and armed robbery. So the night may not have been random at all. It may have been a robbery that turned a working mother's car into a crime scene. That is the shock that does not fade. Not a headline name, not a national tour. A woman grinding mixtapes and raising 6 kids, and the same gun violence that eats local artists for breakfast took her before the youngest could walk. Her pastor remembered the last words she said to him in church. I love you, thank you. Then, a Tuesday night, a crashed car, and 6 children who had to learn what gone means before they were ready. How many names like hers never even make a list? 3. China J. The New Orleans flower wilted in a shocking murder. New Orleans has a long memory for this kind of ending. Bounce queens, street MCs, names that never leave the city but never quite make the national chyron either. China Crawford, China J, was one of those names. Born in 1988, local favorite, energy on stage, the kind of artist a neighborhood claims before the industry does. Then, early 2020, she was gone. Not a public shooting with cameras already rolling. First came the missing person calls, family looking, days stretching. In a city that has buried too many of its own, that stretch of not knowing is its own kind of violence. When police found her, the answer was worse than the waiting. Her body was in a car. She had been shot. She was 32. That is the image that does not leave. Not a stage, not a second line yet. A vehicle, a young woman who had been reported missing, and a cause of death the city already knew by heart. Was she the target? Was she in the wrong car? The public never got a clean, finished story the way bigger names do. What the city got was the familiar cycle: shock, outrage, posts about ending the violence, then the next name, and the next. How many times can one city hold a funeral for potential? China J did not get a national tribute tour or a documentary beat. She got what local artists too often get: a hole in the scene, a family that had to go from "have you seen her?" to "she's gone," and a reminder that New Orleans talent has always had to survive more than the music. The flower wilted the same way too many others have, suddenly, by gunfire, in a place that should have been just another night. 2. K Swift, the Queen of Baltimore Club, and a tragic pool accident. The night before, she had just played Artscape, Baltimore's own. Kaya Danielle Edgerton, K Swift, the club queen. 92Q After Dark, the woman who put Baltimore Club back in young people's mouths. Mix show coordinator when almost no woman in the country held that title. Party so big the city showed up. She was 29. Monday was supposed to be work. Instead, her own house, Northeast Baltimore, Arizona Avenue, Sunday night into Monday morning, a pool party. An above-ground pool, 4 or 5 feet deep. About 7 people in the water. She jumped. Some say she dove. She did not come back up. Friends pulled her onto the metal deck. 911 went out at 12:20 a.m. Medics 2 minutes later. Shallow breathing, weak pulse. Good Samaritan Hospital, pronounced dead. Autopsy, neck injuries. A broken neck from hitting the edge or the bottom of a pool that was never deep enough for that jump. Toxicology later, a small amount of alcohol, no drugs. Police first treated it as possibly suspicious. By 2009, it was ruled an accident, no foul play. Does that make it easier to accept? A woman who commanded rooms, who owned companies, who made a whole city sound travel. Gone because of a backyard pool after her own party. Thousands filled Morgan State for the funeral. Baltimore went numb. Club music lost the voice that had been teaching a new generation how to move. The shock is how ordinary the setting was. No gun, no highway, no hospital war. Just water, a shallow pool, and a second that should have been a laugh. The Queen of Baltimore Club left the party and never came back in. 1. Imani 22, the young star and a fatal fall. Number 1 is not the most famous. It is the one that feels like a door that had only just opened. Imani Johnson chose the 22. She sang like R&B that had learned hip-hop's edges, feelings. Inside, with trippy red, the color red, Bad Baby called her a big sister. Hair, nails, style, the everyday stuff of becoming. She was 22. The last pictures are almost cruel in how alive they look. A waterfall, the caption, "This is paradise," dressed up in the back of a car. October 2021, Saturday morning, something happened. Online, the first wave said car crash. That rumor ran because that is what people expect. Her family and management stepped in. Not a wreck on the freeway, a tragic accident. She had slipped, fallen. The injury was to her head, catastrophic traumatic brain injury. They rushed her. The medical team did everything. She fought through the weekend. On Monday, October 11th, she succumbed. The statement asked for privacy. Her father posted that her light would stay. Jay Main said the last time he saw her was the last time he would ever see her. That is why she sits at 1. Not because the death was louder than bullets or a plane, because it was a young woman in the first chapter, and the chapter ended on a fall. The kind of accident that happens in a second and then takes days to finish. No beef, no overdose headline, just gravity, a head injury, and a family watching machines failed to bring her back. How do you close a countdown on that? You don't, not really. You leave it here. A 22-year-old who named herself after the number, whose career was still climbing. Gone because the ground came up too hard. Play the records. That is the only encore she gets. 17 women, 17 different doors that closed too early. Some were household names, some were local legends still climbing. All of them had to fight for the mic in a culture that often treated them as guests. The ways they left, bullets, planes, pills, machines, dark roads, a pool edge, are different. But the pattern is the same. Talent that was still blooming when the world went dark. Which story stays with you the longest? Leave it in the comments. If this meant something, like share, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Their music is still here. The least we can do is keep playing it. Thank you for watching.